Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so excited because today I get to share another awesome conversation with you that I had with one of my good friends that I get to work with every single day, Ken Coleman. Ken Coleman is an expert on careers. He is the host of the Ken Coleman Show. He's the author of the book One Question and the author of the brand new book, The Proximity Principle. Ken is so much fun, and we have been friends for years, and I'm so excited for you to get to hang out with him and hear this conversation where we're going to dive into the topic of networking. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm hanging out with one of my good friends that I get to work with every single day, Ken Coleman. Ken, thanks for being here.
Oh, Christy, this is fun. I like hanging out with you. There's always great energy, and I love what you're doing with Business Boutique. So this is cool. Thank you.
It's crazy how infrequent we get to do this, like on air or in real life, but we really do work together.
Absolutely.
In our own spaces.
That's right.
And I'm so excited for you because you have got a book coming out right now.
Crazy.
The Proximity Principle. Let's just start with telling our listeners and our viewers about who you are, what you do, and especially the new book.
Yeah. So as she said, I'm one of her cohorts, a Ramsey personality, and I'm specifically helping folks in their career and what they're trying to do. So there's a lot of people are calling into the show every day going, okay, I don't know what I want to do. Then we have people call in and say, I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to get there. And so mainly what I'm focused on is a daily show. It's live on SiriusXM, the Ken Coleman Show. We spent a lot of time and research on that name, Christy. It was a it was super creative. I know these got women out there who've named their business. We went with the Ken Coleman Show. No, but it's on SiriusXM live. 1:21, 2 Eastern, leads into the Dave Ramsey Show, and it's a call-in show. Much like what you all know from the Dave Ramsey Show, we're just talking more about talents and passions and ultimately what work fires you up. And so I give away a lot of Business Boutique books on my show because we have a lot of women who will call in and they want to start that business. And so I say, hey, I got it for you. Yeah. You need to read this book. So I don't know if you've noticed, we've been giving away a lot of free books.
Yes.
I hope that's not hurting
Very
your bottom
generous.
line. You know, we really do, you and I share, I think, of all the Ramsey personalities, we really are really connected to what really drives us. And you're doing incredible work, and it's been fun to watch this movement and this unbelievable tribe of women that are doing great things. So I'm just a part of the whole Ramsey thing and doing work that matters. And it's fun to be a part of this team because we see each one of the other personalities I'm watching and they're doing great work, and then we support each other. And so that's what I do and what I get to do and why we're here today.
Okay, so I love this because there's such an overlap in what we do. Because even as you said, you'll have women call on the show, and what you discover through coaching them and the call is that what they're going to do is a business or a side business. And so you direct them to me, and I reference you all the time on the podcast here on YouTube where I talk about the sweet spot. You talk about the sweet spot, and people have asked me before, Ken, do I think that starting a business is right for everyone? I'm like, no, not at all. It's a certain type of person that wants the risk, the responsibility. There's a certain type of person, like my husband, for example, that loves a predictable, steady schedule, a predictable, steady paycheck, and he thrives in that environment. And so there's just such a great handoff relationship between you and I with the different spaces that we're in. Now, I want to talk really quick. We're going to dive into networking because that's what we're talking about this episode. But I want to talk about your book because this is a really cool concept. I've heard you talk about this before, the Proximity Principle. Give us an overview. What does this mean?
Thank you. So it's a very simple truth. In order to do what you want to do, so let's think about your side business. You're thinking, hey, what is it that I really want to do? What Christy's been coaching you on. In order to really do that and be successful there, you've got to be around people that are doing it and in places where that is happening. This is the idea of I'm going to demystify the climb up the mountain. So whatever your mountaintop is, what it boils down to is that if I say to Christy, I'm going to ask you to come climb Mount Everest with me, and you go, okay, great. Well, we immediately have got to say, we've got to have to get around some people that actually climbed it before.
Right.
Because
someone that knows this.
Somebody that knows what it's going to take, right? So I'm keeping this very general right now. So that's what we mean by the people that are doing it. So you pick a field, whatever it is, and even somebody who is in a competitive business with you, in your mind, you go, well, I'm going to start a business. Trust me, if you sit down with them and say, hey, I admire you. You're killing it. I want to get in that space. And I've been following you, and I'd love to take you to coffee or lunch, or if they've written a book like Christy has, right, or some of the people you put on your podcast, go learn from them. That's proximity. It doesn't always mean sitting here eye to eye.
And so getting in that space.
That's it. We want to get close to people that are doing what we want to do and doing it well. Now, let's be clear. doing it well.
Yes.
And what happens there, when we're in proximity to the right people, they help us and they show us the right places.
Right.
So if you want to launch this, they can say, well, you need to learn this, you need to go over here, you need to go to this trade show, whatever it is. And so they tell us what the right places are. They sometimes put us in the right places with a connection.
Right.
And then, of course, it repeats itself. When I get myself in the right places, I meet more of the right people. You've lived the proximity principle.
That's right.
You personally do.
Everything I'm doing is a result of me being in this certain space that I needed to be in.
So what we've done here in this book is we want to take the fear and the doubt out of the climb, because that's going to be there, but we want you to have a prescription that, wait a second, if I'm around these people and in these places, I'm going to be able to learn, do, connect. Those are three things that happen when I put myself around the right people and in the right places. I learn what I need to know. I get a chance to take that learning and do something with it. And then I'm ultimately always connecting. And the secret to methodical growth and progress is learning, doing, connecting. And so what we've done in the book is 5 people, 5 places, 4 practices, and we walk the reader right to them. And essentially what you realize is this is a repeatable process that will keep me in a place of growth. And that's what I think everybody wants. They want to grow and do what they want to do.
So isn't this so overlooked? Like,
yeah.
this is so
it's
simple.
So simple.
It's so valuable, but so many people, and you know I'm not bashing education. I won't get you on your soapbox about education, but so many people are pursuing degree after degree after degree after degree. They're racking up student loans. They're thinking, here's what it really comes down to, Ken. I need a certificate.
That's right.
To validate, to say that gives me permission to go do this. No, just go intern for someone. Go understudy someone that's doing the thing. I'm not saying you don't need formal education, but gosh, you'll spend so much time and money for a certificate. And I tell you, Ken, so many people I've heard from in different industries, it's really the insecurity driving that decision. They think that makes it official. That 100%. Gives me a rite of passage because now I have a degree. Very few things do you actually have to have a specialized degree. Go be an understudy for that expert that's been doing it 40 years. You want to open your own bakery? Go intern for my mom and see someone that's had a bakery for 35 years.
But that's absolutely it. The degree, you think, gives you the opportunity to be credible, and what makes you credible if you want to run a bakery successfully, like Christy's mom has for decades, is you better be able to cook stuff that people actually want to buy.
Right, and they will have insight that is insanely more valuable than a book can teach you. The book will teach you practices, principles, steps, all that. But the business owner, they'll say, hey, here's how you deal with when an oven catches on fire. Hey, here's how you deal with the crazy customer.
Well, let's say you take the college business course and you get your business degree. Well, they're going to teach you basic principles of business and marketing and accounting. But the reality is if you want a successful bakery, you better go talk to Christy's mom and go, okay, now there's the cooking side of things. You got to cook stuff that people actually want to consume or we have no business. But then when you got that going, when did you know to scale? When did you hire your first person? All the stuff that you teach. But you know, you learned that from watching your mom actually do it. And so you're making the key point here. If you were going to start a business, you better go find somebody who, it doesn't have to be the exact business. So for instance, let's say you could learn a lot from your mom, whether you were in a craft, business or something where you're creating an actual product, a clothing business. But here's the deal. I find, Christy, that most people, not everybody, but let's say 9 out of 10, people will actually sit down with you over coffee or lunch and tell you how they've won. Why do I know this? Because there's something about us as humans. We are okay talking about our successes. So if you approach somebody with some hunger and some humility and say, I know you're a successful woman in business, and I know I'm going to start over here, but would you mind if I just took you to lunch and learned about how you started? What were the pitfalls? What were the emotions you dealt with? And all of a sudden, that person's going to go, now here's a person who A, values me enough to ask for my time. My most valuable commodity. Absolutely. Number 2, they want my insight. And number 3, I actually am winning. And a person who wants to learn from me, of course I'm going to express that. And to your point, Christy, 3 or 4 lunches may be more valuable than 3 or 4 years in a classroom. And that's what we're teaching in the book, is that by being close to people, like I had to get in broadcasting. I didn't have a degree in it, still don't. Didn't know anybody. I had to start out doing the smallest things, learning how to get on a mic, interning at a sports talk station, learning about the business and what does it take. And those days and those things that I learned and the people that I connected with, I mean, they got me to where I am now. It took 7.5 years, and I just got to say that. I am not selling crock pots. This is not a get rich quick. It's not a silver bullet. What this is a tried and true process that we've just put language on, Christy, but this has gone back for centuries. The most successful men and women in the world have figured it out, that I've got to position myself around good people and in the right places for me to be able to learn, do, connect. And that's how you grow a business.
To do what you want to do, whether it's a career or a business, just
career
being
or business.
in the right space. Dave has a great line. You know how he has those great one-liners that just like kind of make you go like, oh my gosh.
I know, he's the king.
The one-liner that I swear I've used a million times is, every opportunity you will ever have in your entire life comes through people.
100%.
Not brands,
100%.
not objects, not technology. It will come through a human being saying, hey, I'm going to introduce you to my friend. Hey, I'm going to open this door. Hey, I'm going to give you a position. And so it's amazing because that's what you're saying, getting around the right people. But here's what's fascinating, Ken, and I've seen this time and time again with Business Boutique. Going back to what we were saying about education, degrees, certifications, whatever, many women in business feel unqualified to be in business because they don't have a background in business or business degree. In your case, background in radio, whatever. But what's amazing is if you look at the most successful business owners in this country,
that's right.
It's not people with Harvard MBAs.
That's exactly right.
It's people that are scrappy go-getters, movers and shakers. They're like, I'm willing to be an intern. I'm willing to be an understudy. I'm willing to go start an entry-level position at this company around these right people that I'm then going to move my way up. And so it's amazing. Right. The fear is unfounded because there's a way around it, and that's what you're saying in your book.
Yeah, well, so the reality is that you talk a lot about fear, but what I found is with using the proximity principle, I don't focus on fear, I focus on action. And you preach this a lot. And so you might be afraid, and that fear is never going to truly go away. But you've got to be able to take fear and say, okay, this is what I'm afraid of, but I'm going to replace that fear with specific action to get around people who can actually tell me the truth to the fear. So fear is a liar. So if I'm in my head all the time, then I'm going to stay paralyzed by the fear. But I need to go sit down with somebody who's actually made it, and they're going to say, well, Ken, I'll be honest with you. It's going to be a long road. I had one guy say, it's going to be a long road. And you are, starting at 31, you are kind of facing some heavier odds. But I think you have the basic ability, and if you're willing to stay with it and humble yourself and do a lot of small potatoes things and supplement the income, I do think it is possible. Now, that didn't necessarily take my fear of failing Stacy and the kids away, but it did make me go, okay, this is a respected producer who told me that, and he did not have to tell me that. I didn't know him, wasn't a friend, was a friend of a friend. And when he told me that, I said, okay, I'm not at least hallucinating. I'm not completely delusional. And so he painted a long picture, a long process for me, and it took 7.5 years.
But you know what to expect.
I did know what to expect, and here's what it really did for me. It went, okay, are you willing to stick it out?
Okay, let me ask you this. So you've got these people that you can go counsel, they can counsel you, you can pick their brains, that type of thing. What do you do if you run into someone that's kind of a curmudgeon? You know what I mean? Like they're just burnout, they're unhappy, they're like, don't do it. They're the cake owner that should have bailed and had a different plan years ago. And how do you keep that attitude from killing your dream? Let's talk about that. You get around the right people in the right places, but they have the wrong attitude. Let's talk about that.
That's actually really good. Nobody's asked me that yet, and that's really good. And I ran into some of that. So let's take the people that you're going to sit with, and let's take them as we're going to put those conversations into a bucket. I'm carrying around a bucket of feedback. Let's call it that. And so let's say that the first person I meet with is somebody who's been successful, but they're completely got built up all in their heart and they can't stand it. And they're just discouraging the stew out of it.
That's right. Okay. They're like, don't do it. Turn back now.
Yeah. So here's the reality. You've got your bucket, and that's in the bucket. I want you to go find 3 more people that are just as successful, and let's get their feedback, and let's put them all in the bucket. And like my kids, when they get that little orange pumpkin at Halloween, and we do the daddy tax, I call it. We come in, we dump all the candy out, and you're doing that with feedback. And so if I've got 3 or 4 pieces of feedback that are clearly different than the curmudgeon, then I go, okay, I can filter that. And I think that's a really important question. You're going to have people that give you the really bad side of things, and they're going to paint a really impossible picture. And I think you've got to have enough maturity to go, that's their perspective.
That's right. That's their
I'm not 100% sure why they have that perspective, but let me go get some other perspective so that I can take the collective and I can go, all right, there were a couple things there. Let me just say this. I had one radio producer tell me that he didn't think I had the talent to make it in a number 7 media market.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, and here we are.
Let me tell you, I believed him.
That's right.
For about 2 days.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
It crushed
That's
me,
right.
Christy.
That's right.
I talk about it in the book, but it crushed me because
it takes an incredible resilience for it not to, Ken. Like
Well,
I
you're
would
a
say
person.
some people would that would be the end of the story for them. Like thankfully it's not for you.
Right.
But like Christine Kane, she had someone tell her she would never be able to go into anti-trafficking, never be able to lead a nonprofit. She's unqualified. Like she's got the letter. No, Christine Kane is like you, like me, very resilient. And she's like, okay, that hurt my feelings and I'm gonna do it anyway.
Right.
But everyone's not like you and me. Some people, that letter, that one word of advice could crush them and kill that dream.
That's right. But I'm glad we're telling this story because it wasn't that I was any more resilient than any of you. What happened was I did what I just talked to you about. I did have some other broadcasting producers that I could get with, and I went and told them. And I just said, hey, I just heard this, and I'm begging you to tell me the truth.
Right.
Am I delusional? And they laughed and said, no. Listen. Blah, blah, blah. And so it was getting other feedback, and I went, okay. And so the hurt, it was still there. I had to get over it, but I had enough wherewithal to put myself around more right people, and that's what we're talking about here. And in this situation,
a balanced perspective.
Yeah. So this is one of the people in the book. We want to get around producers, people that are winning in your space or even another space, but people that are high-end producers because their feedback is really, really valuable because they're not interested, they're not mentoring you, they're not your peer, they're straight shooters, they're interested in winning, they're going to tell you what it takes to win, and you want that kind of feedback. And so I got that feedback and it kept me in the game long enough to where now I look back on that and it's kind of a badge of honor.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I believed I did have it. But then the first, time I got really destroyed, that was really one of the only times somebody just said, you can't do this. It was really nice to be able to retreat to the right people. Yeah. And that's part of it.
And have that balanced perspective. And the right people, when they've been doing this a while, especially those kind of producers like you're talking about, they will tell you so many mistakes to avoid that you would never know otherwise. You would never know from a book. Let's use speaking as an example. Yeah. If you take a speaking class, they're going to teach you to stand behind a podium. To have point one, point two. If you talk to a speaker, we're like, tell a great story. Here's how you pull the audience with you. They're going to tell you real life.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And if you ever get a chance to talk to Christy and you want to speak, I would ask Christy, what's it like to give a speech in front of 5,000 people when you're sick because you're pregnant? Yeah. What's it like when you have a concussion where you don't even know your name?
I'm like, what day is it? What city are we in?
But I mean, that's the point here that you're making. I think you make a good point. You need to be able, before you launch into something, because people are so afraid, and I get it. Fear is real and doubt is real. They're those ugly cousins. But if you sit down with people that are winning in your space and they tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, the pitfalls, the best practices, all those things, all of a sudden, the fear subsides a great deal because our greatest fear as humans, Christy, is the unknown. So the proximity principle allows me to actually get the answers to the things that my brain in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., are you crazy? You're an imposter. You can't do this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's go get some real answers. Is this possible? What does the path look like? And I don't care what the field is. You can get in proximity to the right people in the right places, and all of a sudden, you've got knowledge, right? That's learning. You get a chance at some point to practice that. You're doing, and then you're always connecting. And again, Christy, this right here, this book is the secret to moving up the ladder. I don't care what field you're in. If you're building a business, you can grow your business off of that principle.
That's right. Around the same exact idea. That's what I'm saying. What I love about this too is when you're talking to these people that are so much further along than you, 30 years, 40 years, whatever, you're getting the inspiration from their success. You're getting the steps and the principles, how they got there and the relationships, but you also get normalized in your beginning because guaranteed they'll tell you stories of how they started. Dave Ramsey will tell us stories of how he got started speaking, and it makes us feel so normal that we get these ridiculous stories of speaking. And so it's like you realize, oh, they started somewhere. I'm not that weirdo that has to start somewhere. I love that.
I introduced balloon artist, the balloon animal artist. I introduced a mime one time, and he came up on stage, and I went to give him 5, and I wasn't thinking, this is early on in my career, and I was just trying to get some exposure and just do the act of hosting at that point in my journey, and the guy faked mime me, like he didn't actually high-five me, and I tell that story because it's so ridiculous, but it's also refreshing because I think I want people to know that the humble beginnings, like those are the things that you actually need to grasp because there is no next step if you don't take the first step.
That's right.
And you'll look back on it and it won't be painful. You'll just laugh about it. But I got to tell you, I don't know many microwave stories. I really don't. I think of your audience, there's so many women are creating great business. I think of the Sharks on the Shark Tank.
That's right.
The #1 entrepreneurial show out there. you know, I don't know if people know this, but 4 out of the 5 mainstays have dyslexia. These are not people that could sit in a traditional classroom and come away with the greatest grades.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just want you to think of your limitations. I want you to think about the obstacles. I want you to think about all the things that look like it's going to make it impossible to climb. And I want you to go, wait a second. You're telling me that if I'm intentional to get around the right people in the right places in the space I want to be in, that I'm going to be able to learn, do, and connect. And you're telling me that it'll get me there. And I'm telling you right now, opportunity will find you. You will not be looking for opportunity.
That's right.
I promise you, whether it's customers.
That's right.
Or whether it's, you know, the job opportunity,
the right vendor, the right partner, the right, if
somebody tells me, Ken, I can't catch a break, I automatically know they're not hanging around the right people and they're not in the right places.
That's right. They may be trying in all the wrong places.
Yeah, they may be. Yeah, their heart's good.
Sure.
And I think they got the hustle factor.
Right.
But that's why I'm so excited about this. We actually take 5 people. These are archetypes. People that I actually got around.
Yeah.
And they're transferable and the places. And if you do this, it's like, wait a second. This is now not so scary. This is just about intentionality and understanding that I'm going to have to stay the course.
Okay. I've got a tough question for you. And then I want to switch gears. I want to switch gears to, and I say this from experience. That's where this comes from, right? And then I'll switch gears to networking, which is so similar about being around the right people in the right places. Okay. What about a person that they do what you're saying? They get around the right people, they get around the right places, and they realize that's not where they want to be. Now, let me give you an example. I had a lifelong dream of living on a farm. You know this story.
It's one of my favorites, by the way.
Lived on the farm, not so much a dream anymore.
With the fainting goats.
More of a nightmare, actually. And realized but because I got firsthand experience of mucking stalls and shoveling manure and waking up at 4 a.m., I thought, this is not for me. This is somewhere, and then that's a silly example because I didn't work for someone.
No, it's actually good.
But or even the YMCA. I wanted to work. I was convinced my first year at the YMCA that I was going to work there the rest of my life.
Why? To do what?
I just loved the culture. So I wasn't I was 23, so I didn't know what my position was going to be. I was an aquatic director, but I thought, I want to work my way up because I love this business. I love leadership in this nonprofit. I love the work that matters. This is important to me. After seeing the cycles of how they burn people out and sitting there looking in the face of my boss 3 years in where he said, I know you're working 80 hours a week, but it's not enough. And he was always stressed and he was getting more gray hairs by the day. I thought, I don't want to ever be you. So this is not I'm actually on the wrong path to the wrong place. What do you say to someone that gets around the right people in the right places for where they think they want to go, but then they get there and they don't want to go there. They're like, I'm in the wrong place. I'm on a farm and I don't want to be here.
But this is the power of proximity.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So the subtitle of the book is The Proven Strategy That Will Lead to the Career You Love. Let's focus in on the word lead to answer this question.
Okay.
So let's say that you have an idea that you want to be in a certain industry. So you begin to do what Christy did. You begin to connect with people. You actually take some jobs. You intern, whatever. And I preach proximity because what proximity does is it confirms.
Right. Either way.
Either yes or no.
That's right. That's good.
So instead of going and get a 4-year degree and then looking for the job, and then you call my show 7 years later going, I kind of fell into it because it was the degree and blah, 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 blah. Whoa, wait. Here's what I'd rather you do. I'd rather you go, hey, if I think I want to become a nurse, well, what I'm going to do is before I go headlong into a nursing program, I'm actually going to go talk to some people that are nurses. And not just nurses. Let's talk to a nurse who's in prenatal care, ICU. Let's talk to a nurse who works with delivering babies. Let's talk to a nurse who works in the ER. You see where I'm going here? And what we're doing is we're getting in proximity. We're learning about what do you love most about the job?
The good, the bad, the ugly, everything.
What do you hate about it?
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, and this may not happen with nursing, but there are some fields like teaching where you can go audit a class. Go sit with a teacher for a day before you decide to teach. Because I'm getting calls from teachers all the time that there's so much in the classroom that has nothing to do with actually teaching.
That's right.
So to your point, if you put yourself in proximity, you've not committed to a whole career here, folks.
Right.
What we're saying is, I'm going to go get around these people, talk to them about it, learn from them. I'm also going to go get it in places, maybe trade shows, or maybe I'm going to go sit in a classroom, or I'm going to go audit a class, whatever it is. You're going to get there and you're going to try it and you're going to go, to Christy's point, oh my gosh, I thought that I liked this, and it's not a panic situation if you realize it's not this. What it's going to do is redirect you. So we're going to rinse and repeat. So now we're going to, okay, I thought it was nursing. Maybe it's an in-home care situation, or maybe I want to do physical therapy. I'm making this up.
Right. You're pivoting. You're adjusting.
You're adjusting because and this is not what this book is about. This is about getting where you want to go.
Sure.
But to answer your question fully, then we want to retreat back to what I teach on the show, which is what is that sweet spot, the intersection of your greatest talent and greatest passion. There might be 6 careers there. It's not a one career, one job deal.
Right.
It's just that my top, and let's use Christy as an example. Christy's one of your top strengths is communication, okay? Well, so that's what she's really good at, but her passion is, one of your passions, your great passions is helping women specifically because of your background and your story. Well, Christy is actually in her sweet spot in this role. However, you could easily pivot out of this.
There's other things I could do with that.
And you could use your communication talent, because you actually are more than a speaker. You actually write really well. Part of communication is listening. It's what makes you a good coach. So I want you people to see here that she could pivot 3, 4 different things as long as she's in the sweet spot. So if she got in proximity and she goes, oh, I don't want to do this. Maybe you wanted to maybe teach women's studies at a university. You thought, I want to, because I'm a good communicator. I want to teach in a classroom. I want my PhD. And so, you know, you finish your undergrad and you go hang out with some PhDs. You go hang out with people that are in that world and you go, that's not it.
That's not me.
I actually want to help women start businesses or be who they really are supposed to be and manage all the stuff they do. So when you put yourself in proximity, you are going to get confirmation that, yes, this is in fact in my sweet spot and it is what I want to do. I'm willing to do what it takes. Or, that's not it. And that's a good feeling because we've crossed something off the list and we get the clarity.
What a great way to find out. What a great way to find out that it's not right for you versus I'm going to take out a big business loan and start this business that I know nothing about and turns out I actually hate or a degree in a field that turns out I don't like. What a great way to find out. I'm just going to go hang out with some people. Oh, it's not for me. Cool. That was pretty low risk, low cost way to find out it's not for me. What a great thing to figure out.
And let's look at the other example too. Let's say you go sit with somebody who, another lady in your community who owns a business. She's very successful. And let's say that she gives you, she's not a curmudgeon, but let's say she goes, I love it, I wouldn't change it, I'd do it all over again, but I want to be honest with you. I'm looking at you and your age and your family situation. Let me tell you what this did. And they give you a stark reality. I'm making this up.
Yeah, you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they're like, let's...
And they kind of go, I love it, but let me tell you something. There were 4 or 5 years where it was crazy hard, and it's going to impact you negatively this way and this way, but you can overcome it, you'll get there. You need to be able to hear that and see how your heart reacts to that. Because all of a sudden, like you said, you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and you're going, oh, she's going to give me all the stuff, and I'm going to be able to recreate it and do it. And you need to hear the ugly side, the underbelly. And if you hear the underbelly side and you walk away and you're a little bit down, but an hour later or 3 hours later, late at night, you talk to your husband or you sleep on it, whatever, and you go, I think she's absolutely right. Oh, boy, that's probably going to happen. But I still want to do it.
Yeah, it's worth it. That's
now we've got a master's degree from somebody like Christy Wright or somebody that you position on your stage and on your program all the time. So that's the idea. And I want to make one other quick point. One of the people in the book is professionals. These are people that are at the very top of their industry, and you probably can't have lunch with them. Okay, like Bob Costas or Larry King. I've yet to meet them. But I learned how to do interviews by watching Larry King live and Bob Costas on YouTube. I watched Larry King have every one of his DVDs from his show. My wife bought it. That's how big of a nerd I am. My point is, I can sit at the feet of a Christy Wright, a Larry King, whatever, on YouTube, podcast, books, and learn from professionals without ever having coffee with them. I don't want you to miss that proximity doesn't have to be in person. Because people are thinking, oh, I don't have
intimidated. No, I love that. And it's like speaking. Let's go back to speaking, for example. I can never again listen to a speaker as a complete consumer. Devo last week when I texted you, you were out of town, but the Devo content was fantastic. And I'm taking notes. But oh, how he ended. I was like, that...
I heard, by the way.
That was brilliant. And I'm taking notes about like what to do as a speaker that he did that was so brilliant in addition to the content. So I love that. I don't know him. I'll probably never hang out with him, but I learned from him.
Well, let's look at the women. If you follow Christy on Instagram, I do. You are practicing proximity. When you see Christy post a picture of these women that you're speaking with or doing a television show with that you admire, that you've read their stuff before or you've listened to their talks and now you're with them, this isn't girls' club.
No.
You are becoming immeasurably better.
Yeah, that's right.
By
I'm getting
hanging
smarter
around
just by
those
hanging out with them. That's right.
So, even at Christy's level of success, I think you need to understand that this is not a career starter, career switcher only strategy. Even people that are winning need to be putting themselves in proximity to other high producers and constantly learning and doing and connecting. And so you do that so well. And I want people to understand that what this does is lower the bar.
Yeah, which is great. Who doesn't love that? And I will tell you, the other unique advantage that women have, specifically, since we're talking to women on this show, women are so relational. We're great at connecting. We love meeting people.
Way better than guys.
We make best friends with the people at the grocery store checkout line. Like, Matt's like, would you please hurry up? I'm like, I've got to talk about their life story.
You and Stacey Coleman.
Yes. It's so, we're already great. That's what we've actually been talking about in this show, networking. I want to talk about this for a second, but we're really saying the same thing. It's not this intimidating factor of you've got to go to this big stuffy event. Whether you're in proximity for a career move, in proximity for your business, or in proximity just because you're getting to know some new people, we're just talking about connecting, which is something you guys already know how to do. Now, I want to pick your brain on this idea of networking in general, because you have some kind of really fun thoughts that are non-traditional in networking, and I love that. So talk to us about like your perspective on networking.
Yeah, so this comes from the fact that Christy and I are both extreme extroverts, okay? And I'm an extrovert, and I remember going to some networking events early on in my journey to get into broadcasting, and I got to tell you, it was the first one that I went to, and I'll never forget the guy coming up to me, and he was very excited to see me, and I was feeling very excited about how excited he was to meet me, and I thought, I am making some progress tonight. Shook his hand. We talked for maybe 60 seconds because he led the questioning, what do you do? And when he realized that I did not have an actual broadcasting position, I was an absolute peon, and I could not help him. You know exactly what happened. He went from eye contact to looking over my right shoulder and over my left shoulder, and he couldn't get out of the conversation fast enough, and I'll never forget that. And I didn't have an experience like that in subsequent meetings, but I maybe went to 4 or 5 more of these things, and I remember driving home after one of these going, this is a complete and colossal waste of time, because everybody that I just was in the room with is there for them.
Right. Right. It's a very self-seeking event.
And I'm okay with that.
Sure.
But here's the point. Stop going to networking events and start connecting. So what I teach is, and you agree with this, stop networking. And what I mean by networking is what we just described.
Right.
These speed dating on steroids type things. You need to do the one-to-one connection like we've already talked about in this conversation. And in that situation, what you're going to get is, you're going to have more confidence asking for that. It's not as anxiety-ridden because the person has already agreed. So when you show up, they've already agreed to give you their time. Now chill out, relax, and make the most of it.
Right.
Show up ready to learn. Show them the questions. It's the old gratitude, enthusiasm, gratitude sandwich. Grateful for this time. I am so excited. I got some things I want to ask you. I'm really grateful for your time. Here we go.
Right.
Who is not going to want to pour into you when you approach it that way? And so the idea of connecting does a couple things. Number one, builds our confidence each time we make a new connection. Because we go, okay, I can do this. People aren't going to say no to me. They're not going to be a jerk to me.
Right.
And then what happens is those connections, while you didn't ask, and I don't want you to ask for the connection you're making to make another connection, inevitably, if you show up and you're humble, you're grateful, and you're hungry to learn from them, they almost every time are going to add a new connection that you would never be able to get on your own. That is why the one-to-one works.
Yeah.
If I spend time with some young guy who wants to get into broadcasting and he does what I just described, I'm telling you right now, there's 3 or 4 people I'm going to go, hey, because now I want to help the guy.
You're invested in him.
Yeah, I'm going, this guy actually wants to hear what I have to say, and it feels like he's hungry and he wants to do it. So I want to do more than just give him my advice.
Right.
I want to connect him to 3 or 4 other people because I actually want to see this guy win.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in the one-to-one connection that will rarely happen, if ever.
In this stuffy speed dating.
Yeah, because why is everybody there?
Yeah.
Whereas in the one-to-one, that person is only there for one reason. You ask them to be there, and they know you want to pick their brain.
Yeah.
Totally different dynamic.
Right. Now, you hit on a couple qualities, and I think this is really valuable, so I want to circle back to these because I think these qualities are so valuable, whether you're trying to be around the right people or you're just connecting in a networking type of setting or anything. I think that women have this fear of approaching others because they don't want to be perceived as, I'm trying to get something from you.
That's right.
We've got this fear of sales and, I don't want to be pushy. I don't, all that. I could go on that all day. We talk about that all the time. But the qualities you just described are the absolute opposite of someone that is pushy, salesy, trying to take advantage. You're saying humility, having the heart of a student, asking questions, being humble, being ready to learn. I can't tell you how many people have asked for my advice on something and completely rejected every piece of advice. They're like, well, I don't, like they know better. I'm like, well, you asked the question, So just these qualities of grateful for your time, being humble, being a student, ready to learn, ready to take notes, ready to soak it in, realizing maybe you don't know everything.
That's right.
And you can learn from this person that's further along than you. And I just think there's such value in remembering those qualities. If you have those qualities, qualities and choose that posture, no one will ever think, oh, they're coming to take advantage of me.
There's no chance. You know, I write about this in the book, the difference between audacious and obnoxious. So audacity.
I like this. This is fun. Let's talk about this.
So there's a huge difference between audacious and obnoxious. Let's talk about obnoxious, because I think everybody immediately had a person pop in their mind. My personal favorite that I thought of when you were talking about
You're pointing so strong at me right now when you're saying obnoxious.
No, heavens no. No, but you
the
said,
person I thought of.
No, sorry. You said something that made me think. My favorite is the approach where somebody says they want my advice, but it's completely clothed in a pitch.
100%. That's
you know what I'm talking
I mean.
about. It's like, I'm going to ask you for advice, and I'm like, you didn't ask me for advice. You're trying to actually talk me into promoting you or doing something. Right.
What
That's my personal
I can do
favorite.
For you. That's right.
And so that's obnoxious, right?
Yes.
And so obnoxious is I'm self-promotion right out of the gate. I'm not grateful. I'm there to speed, fire everything at you, and blow you away and impress you. Now, again, the heart could be right here, so I want to be careful, because I write about this because I did this, Christy. So I outed myself in the book on this because you know me, I'm a very intense dude, very enthusiastic.
We get along well, as you can tell.
And I'm a self-promoter by nature. Early on in my journey, I was just like a fire hose on people. I get an opportunity to talk to somebody, and the example I use in the book is I got an opportunity to get lunch with an on-air personality at Turner Sports. This is early on. Now, this is unbelievable. This is a professional that rare opportunity to meet with this guy. And when I met with him, I didn't realize it in the moment, but I remember walking out to the car going, oh, gross. I just feel gross.
You did.
I felt gross because what I did in the meeting was I basically, I said, hey, I want to ask you this, and I never asked him anything. And all I did was tell him how talented I think I am and how I had some unique selling propositions for myself and I could do this and do this and I'm this and I'm this. And my heart was saying, show this guy how hungry you are and tell him all the things you're willing to do and you're just looking for some connections and advice. And that was the heart. But what came out was self-promotion. I'm great, help me out. You're doing, you need to help me out. Because I'm just so, and it was just so gross and not thought out and everything else. And so that's obnoxious, where it feels like you're just promoting yourself the whole time, and it's like it's a favor for them. Like you're doing them a favor by them being able to discover you or recommend you. And they're going, whoa, 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 whoa. And I learned that I had to pivot, because I remember how he acted afterwards, and that's what woke me up. He kind of acted like, we'll see. Just send me an email and I'll see if I can connect you. And I was like, I thought I did everything right, and I ran the whole conversation back, and I'll never forget it. And I said, I'm not doing that again. And so the audacious is simply asking for the audience. That's the audacity. Obnoxious is the whole push. No, audacity is what few people will do, which is, hey, this is what I want to do. I admire you, and I'm looking for insight on these type of topics and these kind of things. Would you be willing to give me 15 minutes, have coffee with me, have lunch, do a phone call, because I'd really like to get your insight. I didn't ask for you to connect me. I didn't ask for you to hire me. I just said, I value your insight, and I would really like to learn from you. That's audacity. Just the idea of going, I'm going to ask somebody who doesn't know me very well, or I'm going to ask a friend of mine to connect me to somebody who doesn't know me at all, which happened a few times for me. That's audacious. Obnoxious is just no one wants to help the obnoxious guy. Because it's like, well, if you're such a big shot, you think you can do it and you're so great, why don't you just go tell somebody else who's willing to buy? I'm not buying what you're selling because I barely know you. And you're telling me how great you can be. And so I want to make sure you understand that I did that the wrong way, and that's I learned the lesson. I was so enthusiastic, and I did believe in my ability, but I didn't have the maturity.
To know how to approach it, just that basic difference in how you go about it. I love this because it makes me think of the different types of requests I get on social media, whether it's Twitter, Insta Story, whatever. I'll get a request from one person. It's like, here's my book. Will you promote my book? Will you talk about my book? Will you lift? Will you give me lift? Versus, hey, I'm an aspiring writer. I really want to learn from you. What advice? It's like, I want to help the learners.
Great example.
Versus someone that's like, can you just lift my stuff? And it's a totally different posture. And I love how you've unpacked that. Ken, I could talk about you, your book, and all the things that you're working on all day. I love talking to you. I skipped half of our questions. But tell people where they can get the proximity principle, because this concept, like you said, is not just for career. It's for you in business to know how to put yourself around the right people and the right places to do what you want to do in business. business. So let's talk about where we can get it. This is exciting.
Yes, ma'am. KenColeman.com. You can get it there. Wherever books are sold. Of course, we've got the audio for the book as well.
Which you read.
I do read it.
I know you do, because I had to read mine, so I knew you did.
Yeah. I got to tell you, that was
it's grueling.
It's an arduous process. A lot of pressure. In fact, I had more pressure to read the book than I do to do my national show every day.
For sure.
Live, because it's so much pressure to read. But anyway, you can get it at KenColeman.com wherever books are sold. Thank you for having me, buddy.
Oh my gosh, you added such value, and this is amazing how much it's going to help them in their businesses. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to get your copy of Ken Coleman's brand new book, The Proximity Principle, well, you can get your copy by clicking the link below.